another DorkLair action figure review. Today I'm taking a look at the Epic H.A.C.K.S Skeleton Barbarian from Boss Fight Studios. A brand new line from Boss Fight Studios. This is their 6-inch version of their H.A.C.K.S skeletons. So if you have their 1/18 scale Vitruvian H.A.C.K.S skeletons, to me this does feel like a straight enlargement of that awesome line. I bought mine directly from Boss Fight's website, and they are pretty close to me, so these got here really quickly. I don't know if any of the retailers have sent them out yet, like Entertainment Earth, Big Bad Toy Store. If you ordered from there, you might not have gotten yours yet, but I did order this direct. But you can get a look at this. It's a pretty simple figure. There's not a lot in terms of the base body, the skeleton itself. It's a nice skeleton. I love the proportions of it, but really it's all about the crazy accessory. So this one is supposed to be a barbarian. Of course, it's got the helmet here, and the details are awesome. A lot of great sculpt work here. I can't remember if this particular helmet was part of Vitruvian H.A.C.K.S. I know the, this chest armor piece, this waist piece, and I think the boots were also part of Vitruvian H.A.C.K.S, just scaled up. I'm assuming the helmet too. I think most pieces on this line are already in existence in the smaller scale. But a nice close-up look of this guy. There's not really any paint on the body to speak of, but you do have paint in the teeth. You've got that articulated jaw. Eyes are painted. It looks black here, but they are a dark brown. And at some point in the video, I will take it apart and I'll show you just the bare skeleton on its own. Getting down into the lower legs, you can see the boots here have a ton of leathery details. The foot is one piece that's pegged in, and then the cuff of the boot is up over, and you can kind of slide it in and push it down to kind of cover that gap. If you go into a wide stance, you're definitely going to see the bone down there, but any like upward stance, and it'll pretty much, you can position it to cover that ankle bone. I do, however, have an error in that I have what I think is two right sides. So this from the knee down, this bone right here, and then this cuff, this I believe is the right side, and then this is another right side over here. Because if you look at another figure, you'll see that that smaller bone should kind of be on the outer part of the leg, but on the Barbarian, on its right leg, it's on the outer part. On its left leg, it's on the inner part. On the Grim Spectre, it's on the outer part on both sides. So I may contact them and see if they can send replacement legs or something. And then here's an overall look at the figure itself. I really love the shape of this skeleton. It's kind of the most lifelike to me in terms of like, this just feels like a regular old human skeleton, not a monstrous skeleton, not any sort of weird, different alien skeleton, but just a regular old human skeleton. And coming in just under 6.5 inches, I think this is perfectly sized for many different lines. If you want to mix this in with Marvel Legends, with Mezco, it might be slightly small for Mythic Legions. It's a tad smaller than a 2.0 skeleton, but for the most part, it's a pretty good size in terms of being 1/12 scale skeleton. And for comparisons, starting it off with other Boss Fight H.A.C.K.S figures, on the right we have the counterpart to the Barbarian, and that is the Grim Spectre. I will be doing a review of that figure later. And on the left we have a 1/18 scale Vitruvian H.A.C.K.S skeleton. That one I painted myself, but you can get a sense of the size at least. And then just a couple more Vitruvian H.A.C.S figures, a couple newer ones. On the left is Sigurd the Barbarian, and on the right is the new female Knight of Asperity. Next up, a couple similarly sized skeletons. On the left is the stripped down Kulu World skeleton, and on the right is a Mythic Legions 2.0 skeleton. That is Okiedos with a custom head I put on there. Next, a couple larger skeletons. On the left is a 1.0 Mythic Legions figure, Tibius, with the baseball head sculpt custom painted by Eric Miller, EM Custom Parts. And on the right is the Storm Collectibles OG skeleton from the Golden Axe 2-pack. And as you can see, the Boss Fight figure is definitely smaller and slimmer than the Mythic Legions figure, and it's definitely shorter than the Storm figure. It's probably a little more cartoony and a little more over the top style-wise as well, especially when you kind of have all these fun parts. You know, you have a barbarian, you've got a pirate, you've got all these different cool things going on. Might not quite fit in for some people's purposes in terms of like adding them in with mythic legions. For me, I mix and match a ton of stuff, so I'm happy to place them right on the shelf with all my other lines. Here you can see how the Epic H.A.C.K.S skeleton scales with the Mezco fantasy-based figures. We've got Conan the Barbarian with some Kylab parts on the left and Death Dealer on the right, and I think the size is perfect for these characters to be battling. If you're into like Conan comics and stuff, I think the skeleton fits in perfectly with Conan's theme, and it would be sort of a perfect adversary to have a little army of these guys fighting Conan. And just a couple more Mezco figures right here for reference. On the left is the Death Adder from the Rumble Society Hazard Squad, and on the right we have the 1989 Batman. A couple Hasbro figures. On the left is the Green Goblin from Marvel Legends Retro, and on the right is Darth Maul from the Black Series. And to finish it off with a couple larger figures, on the left is the NECA Ultimate Warduke, and on the right is the Animal Warriors of the Kingdom Chunari Legionary. For accessories, it does come with this battle axe, and there's some nice little details going on here. I mean, you have some blue accents on the blade, making it almost frosty Viking style. And then the handle has some wash there and some nice little sculpted details. And then you have a little metallic color, goldish bronze tip at the bottom. And it does come with this mace, which is pretty cool. And something interesting about the mace, one of these little spikes, this one, comes off. So there might be some attachments that you could have, like a bigger hook on there or something. But yeah, pretty cool mace right here. And again, a lot of little details going on. Also comes with a sword, and one cool feature about the sword is that he does have a sheath on his back, or at least a strap, so that you can load him up with the sword right there. It does come with a stand that has 4 pegs, so you have a variety of ways that you could pose the figure on the stand. It says Epic H.A.C.K.S, and then just some, information, copyright on the back. And it does come with a pair of regular skeleton feet. So you can completely strip this thing down and have it just be a bare skeleton, which I will do next. Well, unfortunately, I'm going to have to cut this review short because I snapped my figure. This is not the first time I've disassembled it. I actually did it the other day and then disassembled it again to put it back together. But, yeah, I don't know. I heated it up again and it just snapped, unfortunately, at that joint right there. So be careful with yours if you get this. Make sure you heat it up extra extra hot, I guess. That's the only place I've had any issues, was that little joint right there snapping. But for reference, you can see this is like one of those hinge ball type joints down there for like side to side motion. And then there's a ball that pegs up into this piece of the spine right there. That's how you'd get the waist piece off. So that would slide on there. This would go on. The chest harness slides over the top with the arms off. I found that to be the best way. But again, heated up really well. Shouldn't have too many issues, but unfortunately I did snap it there. I can try to show you a little bit of the articulation. Let me pop some things back together here. So the arms pop in fairly easily and the head pops on. There's a pair of feet that you can peg right in there. This one here. I guess just the nature of having a slim figure with very tiny joints is that you're going to potentially break it if you're not super, super careful. So unfortunately, mine broke. But anyway, so in terms of articulation, so that I can hopefully salvage this video, is head articulation is on a ball joint. There's an articulated jaw. The arm is on a hinge and swivel. Elbow is on a single joint. There's a twist at the elbow there. There's a split ball type hinge at the wrist. You can twist it there as well. There's a ball joint about mid spine up here into the torso. And then there's another ball that goes up into here. This is where it broke. And then a split ball here. So there is a little bit of side to side. I really like the hips. So you have like a double ball at the hip. And so you can kind of drop the legs up and down a little bit and get a pretty good range of motion in those legs. Double jointed knees, plenty of range there. And then you have an ankle rocker and just a lot of range of motion in the ankles. So unfortunately mine broke. I do tend to push things a little bit with my figures, and when I was popping this off, maybe I got a little careless because I had already done it once and got a little overconfident, but definitely apply lots of heat if you're going to be popping these things apart. And aside from the unfortunate breakage and the mismatched legs here, if I ignore those things, I think it's a great figure. I think it's going to be an awesome line. I really hope they bring their knights up to this scale. Unfortunately, mine broke, so it's hard for me to say, hey, I recommend this figure. It broke. But I'm going to chalk it up to a little carelessness on my part, maybe an anomaly, and go forward with the next 3 figures, and hopefully those ones will be just fine. Anyway, thanks for watching my video, and until next time, may the Force be with you.